All right, good evening, everybody. Super excited to be with you. Minister Justin here with a little bit of leadership training for about the next 55 minutes or so. We're just going to get into some nitty gritty, general, but yet specific at the same time type of details concerning leadership. We are 6 months into the year. It is June, the 5th day. Let me just make sure. No, actually, I stand corrected. The 4th day of June, and we are halfway through the year. And I don't know about you, my year feels like it is just flown by. At the end of the last quarter, so 3 months into the year, we went over 14 questions that you should ask yourself concerning how you had did your previous quarter, and then to set yourself up for success as you go forward. Now, I suggested that you do that in the 4th month so that you can actually have your full quarter to look back at and say, how did I do and what do I want to improve upon? But we did it in the 3rd month because I wanted you to still have 30 days to work on those things and really springboard yourself into the 2nd quarter. So now 2nd quarter has ended. And at the end of 2nd quarter, here this final month, rather than go back and recap that, you can check that out in the video. And I'll put the link here in the YouTube post itself. So rather than go back and look at that, what I want to encourage you to do is just let's take a holistic look at leadership. Over the last year, we've talked about a variety of different things. We've talked about time management. We've talked about quadrant 2 living. We've talked about development. We've talked about connecting and communicating properly. We've talked about maintaining balance. We've talked about what is leadership. But today I kind of want to round back to that whole what is leadership and what does it look like? And what are the things that as leaders you're trying to do with your organization? I think that's extremely important that from time to time we go back to this because in the day-to-day minutia, the grind, the constant knocking on your door and hats that you're forced to wear and balls that you're forced to juggle, it can be real easy to get lost in why do I do this? What is the purpose behind which I put effort and energy and time and financial resources and networks and self-develop? What is it all about? What is this leadership thing? And so today I just want to take a moment, since we're not live in person and I'm just doing a video today, I wanted to take a minute and just really give you some thoughts on leadership because, again, I think it's just extremely important that we take from time to time a pause and just remember, why am I here and what am I doing? So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's answer question number 1. Why do we lead? Why do we lead? As leaders, as people who've been placed in charge of an organization or placed in charge of a team, placed in charge of a unit, whatever it is that you use to describe, maybe it's the family element. We talked about this before, that not always will I have a specific leadership position, yet I can still be a leader if I'm only leading myself. So why do we lead? I would submit to you for your consideration that we lead because when you lead, others follow. And people want to follow a leader. And so you have some kind of vision in your mind of how things are going to look. You have some kind of idea of what could be done better. Over time, you had some experiences and you think to yourself, you know what? We could leverage those experiences that I had to produce a better product, to present a better form to the world. And so once you volunteer that information, once you raise your hand and you say, hey, have you thought about it like this? Have you ever considered this? And somebody says, no, we haven't. Why don't you take lead on that? You are now the leader. Now, whether that's the organization or whether it's yourself, maybe you look at your situation and you say, you know what? I've just been going along, doing things the way other people said I should do. And that is the wrong answer. At no point have I really taken charge of my life. But now, from this moment forward, I'm going to start coming up with things I want to do. I'm going to take some time and get a picture of what I want my life to look like. And then I'm going to go forth and accomplish it. Congratulations, you're a leader. And so we lead because we potentially don't want to follow. That's one element of it. But we also lead because we see a better way to do something. We want to take charge. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people lead because they want the accolades. Some people lead because they want the power and the prestige. Some people lead because they want everybody to look at them and say, oh my goodness, wow, look at that person. They're the greatest. He or she is the most awesomest person. And they take all that inside and they're like, yeah, look at me, look at me. But at the end of the day, those aren't the leaders you follow for long. Because as we're going to discuss later, what the organizational culture under a leader who's all about themselves, yeah, give me all the props, give me all the praise, is not one that anybody wants to stay a part of for long. Oh, sure, I'll stay with you for a little bit. Oh, sure, I'll go with you as long as I can get my piece of the pie. But as soon as it's just all about you and I'm just always giving, and you're just always taking, and you call yourself the leader, nah, at that point, I'm good. I'm going to go my own separate way. I'm going to get as far as I need to on your dime, your energy, and your effort and go. But the leader who will be concerned with his followers or her followers, be concerned with seeing their success and their growth, that leader is one worth following until that leader passes away. That leader's worth investing in. That leader's worth finding out how do they do what they do. We lead because we want to see it done better. We want to see it done more effortlessly, more efficiently. Think about it. If I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, now I've been here before and I've done this and I see the way you all are going and it's not going to work out the way you want to. What I'm effectively saying is I don't want you to make the same mistakes. I want you to have a better quality of life. I want you to have a better experience than I did. So rather than let you sit back and watch you just fall flat on your face, I'll take lead. I'll take on the responsibility. I'll take on the responsibility for the actual product being presented like it's supposed to, the accomplishment of the task at hand, the welfare of the people who are involved in it, the investment. I'll take lead so that you don't find yourself making the same mistake that I did. And you can actually present and have a better life going forward than the one I had. So why do we lead? We lead because we want to do it better. We lead because we want to see the people who we're leading be better than we were. How do we do that? Now that question number 2, how do we do that, is what is your culture? Because the how, like specifically, oh, you do this, or you do that, or you do this, or you do that. You can go back and watch all the other videos to see how. We talk about managing time. We talk about making sure that you connect. We talk about building up one another. But in the general yet specific way that we're discussing leadership here tonight, we're talking about the culture. Because it's not any one leader who is not responsible, because the leader is ultimately responsible, but it's not one leader who sets the tone and says to each and every person who comes in, hey, I'm the leader and I make it happen and this is how we do what we do. Now, I might generally brief you on the rules of the organization or the way we operate here, or this is what this team does, and maybe a pithy little slogan, or maybe a whole just general idea, counseling statement, evaluation statement. Hey, this is your role. This is where I see you fitting in. But the day-to-day activities of the team that is being led by a successful leader will be communicated to the members of that team by the team itself. So when the new guy shows up or the new girl shows up and they're like, hey, what's up? And everybody looks at them and says, we don't say what's up here. We say good morning. The culture has just changed that person, and that person now understands, here we say good morning. Now that's like kind of a funny example, but it's anything. It's the way we dress. It's the way we carry ourselves. It's whether we show up 5 minutes late or 10 minutes early. If you show up at work at 9 o'clock, and you're supposed to be there at 9 o'clock, and everybody else is there already, computer set up, busy at their work, doing their things, you're going to say to somebody quietly, hey, did I miss a meeting? Did I miss the memo? I thought work started at 9 o'clock. And they're going to say to you back confidently, oh yeah, it's definitely 9 o'clock. But we all get here 10 minutes prior so that we can be ready. Because at 9 o'clock, the boss walks in and he expects every single one of us to have the answer, not powering up our computer. And at that moment, the culture has again replicated the leadership of that leader. Now, that can be an extremely positive culture. It can be simple as, hey, your birthday's coming up, right? What restaurant would you like to go to? What do you mean? Y'all go to restaurants on our birthdays? Actually, yes. Here in this organization, our leader prizes each and every one of us so much that he always takes us out to lunch. And so we have to ask in advance in case it's a special place that requires reservations. So we're 4 weeks out from your birthday, and I just need to know where you're trying to go so we can see if we need to make reservations. Again, the culture replicates the intent of the leader. So when I say, how do I lead an organization? By shaping the culture so that it replicates what I want to see accomplished. Now, is that easy? No, it's not easy. It takes work. It takes a clear vision. It takes a clear understanding of who it is. And so in these leadership classes, we talk about what's your vision? What's the end state that you anticipate for your organization? What does a well-run organization look like? So oftentimes in the leader, in the management materials that are out there, it'll say your employees won't work that hard for you. It'll say your employees will do as little as they can get away with and not get fired. But you as a leader have to decide for yourself, is that acceptable? And if it's not acceptable that your employees just come to work to get a paycheck and have nothing, it has no personal bearing, you have to decide how you change that from happening. And so the only way you can change that from happening is by coming in with a clear vision, a clear picture. And it's funny because I'm doing this in front of a camera, and so the camera has a very clear picture of what it is that I want it to have. You can't see what's going on over here on this side, and then my hand comes into the frame. You can't see what's going on over there on that side until my hand comes into the frame. And so I frame this shot. And as a leader, I frame what I want my organization to look like. But I can't do that unless I have a very clear picture. So now when I'm setting up this camera and I'm setting up all my materials and stuff like that, I'm going over everything. I'm checking the angle of it. I'm making sure there's not enough, not too much extra noise coming over that the microphone's going to pick up. I want to make sure that everything is exactly so that the image, the message, so that everything comes across to you and you hear it and you're like, that makes sense. Well, in the same way, in order for your organization to be what you want it to be, you have to have a clear picture and then be able to work that thing into focus through daily, repetitive conversations with your employees and through leadership by example. And then when you have that conversation and your employees are like, well, why do you do that, sir? Or why do you do that, ma'am? You can explain to them, well, this is how I envision things going. And they'd be like, well, that's actually kind of uncomfortable. Or, we've never done that before. I'm not really sure how that's going to work out. Or, we tried something new before. You say, I fully understand all of that. I was once there myself. What I would encourage you to do, though, is trust me. Because I'm right here doing it with you. And so it's less of that whole, hey, you do what I say, while I sit over here and do what I want to do, and more like, follow me, I'll lead the way. And so it creates this culture and this environment that literally replicates what you're looking for as a leader. And so then at some point, and we talk about this in our quadrant living, we move from being the answer to everybody's problem to the facilitator of everybody's growth. And so no longer do I have to switch on the hat that answers all the problems and the hat that puts on all the fires and the hat that cooks all the food and the hat that cleans all the clothes. And I've distributed out that responsibility. So when somebody's like, hey, I'm not sure what I need to do, instead of everybody being like, go call the boss, they're like, hey, go see Tom. Tom takes care of the computer issues. Go see Sue. She'll make sure you're getting paid properly. Go see Tim. He'll make sure your whatever is set up the way it needs to be. But the only way that works is if you have a clear vision, not necessarily of Tom and Sue and Tim, but a clear vision of somebody who handles those different elements. And that's leadership. Sometimes I refer to it as vision coordination. And you'll hear me refer to myself from time to time as a vision coordinator. Because ultimately what I see is that true leadership, I think, partly has to do with seeing their vision and seeing your vision and seeing your boss's vision and seeing your underboss's vision and bringing all of that together to accomplish something that wasn't going to be done unless you were there or a leader was there. And so your boss has a vision for making X amount of money per quarter. And this person comes in and they're going to work, but they only have a vision of working X amount of hours per quarter. So how do I take boss's X amount of money and the workers' X amount of hours and bring them together? I have to have a conversation with my boss about how many hours equals X amount of dollars. And I have to have a conversation with this person about how many dollars they can get per hour. And how efficient can we work so that you can do what you want to do here, but you can get what you want to get over here. Oh, and that doesn't stop you from wanting to get what you want to get, which might be promotion to your boss's position or another position. How do you balance that? That's coordination of different people's vision. That's leadership. And you do that not alone, but by utilizing the culture around you to replicate what it is that you put in place. But none of that happens without a clear vision. And so how do I end up in that place? I end up in that place with vision, with an idea, with a clear picture. And so one of the things we talk about are great leaders. And great leaders are capable of articulating clear vision. So Moses goes to the promised land and he goes to Pharaoh and he says, with a clear vision, let my people go. This is the change that I intend upon seeing. This is the situation that I intend upon seeing change. And so much the same way, we as leaders have to be willing to go and say to somebody, hey, this is the change I want to see. Leadership is about having a clear picture in your eye, a clear picture in your mind of where you're going to get to and what it looks like once you got in there. And so Moses didn't say to the king of Egypt, hey, let my people go just because. He says, let my people go. I've got to take them to the promised land. And even though there were obstacles along the way, and there will always be obstacles, there will always be pitfalls. He had a Red Sea to go through. He had an army trying to chase him. He had to go in the wilderness. He still kept his eye on the vision, on the promised land, on the place that he wanted to go. And so we as leaders know that core to everything we do is understanding why we lead and equipping our culture around us to replicate our leadership, but then also making sure that we have vision for where we want to go. Now, one of the things that I think are extremely important about vision is that we make sure we take the time to celebrate as we hit those milestones, as we accomplish every victory. So let's say that I'm going to be in the business of moving a group of people from one place, maybe that's financially, maybe that's physically, maybe that's mentally, to another place. I need to celebrate the milestones as we hit certain milestones, right? So I might say, hey, we want to save $1,000 this year. Nope, let me make it easy. Let's say $1,200 this year, $100 each month. So at the end of the third quarter, I should have how much money saved up? $300. This is why y'all are smart right there. So if I've got $300 saved up at the end of the third quarter, do I say, oh man, you got 900 more to go, man, just keep grinding? Or do you take a moment and celebrate and say, did you realize that 3 months ago you had $0 in savings, and because of hard work, dedication, and discipline, you now have $300 in savings? Give yourself a round of applause and a pat on the back. Because that is what it means to celebrate those milestones. So now, man, you're right. I did that. I pushed through that. And then if I'm a good leader, I'm going to have a little extra conversation with them. Well, tell me some of the struggles that you endured, and tell me some of the things that you learned about yourself. And what are the ways that you can, do you think $100 is too much? Do we need to take that back? Or could we even add a little bit more? What? You think you could put $110 aside? Well, let's go ahead and see if we put $110 aside. And then at the end of the second quarter, because we put $110 aside each month, because we became a little bit more disciplined, because we moved a little bit, and understand That key to this is the person's self-development. So they're going from being somebody who spent every single dollar that they made to being somebody who now is saving money. And when you begin to save money, when you realize you can control your money instead of your money controlling you, and the things that they gave up in order to put this money aside isn't something that they absolutely had to have, it opens your mind to the possibility that you can save even more money, that there are some other things in your life that you can say no to, that you can really begin to move into a realm you've never been in before. And so because you were able to save that $300 and celebrated the first quarter, then you moved up to $330, now you have $630 the second quarter. I mean, does it make sense? How you could begin to change somebody, how you as a leader could begin to move somebody as you just begin to celebrate. And then you might say to them, wow, brother, sister, you've got $630 saved up. You are ahead of your goal right now. How does that make you feel? And let's just be completely real. It'll make you feel a lot better about yourself. Because you fought. You set a goal. You are in the process of accomplishing it. And you took a moment to actually acknowledge. And so many times I think as leaders, we might miss this. But you have to take a moment and actually acknowledge, hey, team, we are doing this. I look at reports every day, and at the end of the day, they send a closeout. And sometimes I think to myself, there will always be a deficit. There will always be the rest of the mountain to climb. But hey, there are plateaus for a reason. And can we just take a minute right here and just at base camp, before we start climbing the rest of the mountain, enjoy the view? I just want to acknowledge that I see you all out there getting it. I just want to acknowledge that I see you all out there putting your hands to the plow. I just want to acknowledge that I see you putting in that work, and I am proud of the team right where we are. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, we're going to climb the rest of this, but let's just take a moment and do 3 claps and 2 pats on the back, because we are doing it. We are right now doing it. And it doesn't matter if tomorrow we slip back a little bit, because I have no doubt that the day after we're going to get that ground back and keep climbing. That's who we are. And that's culture. That's organization. That's leadership. That's I'm in it with you. Because see, if I'm not with you, then there's no way I can go ahead and brief this. I'll be back here like, oh man, that's a long, high mountain they got to climb up there. And it looks exactly the same. When I'm at the bottom, watching you climb, whether you're at the top, halfway to the top, almost to the top, or 5 feet above me, it all looks the same. You got a long ways to go. But if I'm in it with you, if I'm hand over hand, over hand, over hand, climbing this thing, reaching back, pulling you up, you helping me, pulling me up, you, me, us, we, together. I'm just talking about leadership. With a vision in mind, with a picture of where we want to get to, celebrating each time. And so now, because I was able to put $330 aside, maybe I said, ooh, that was kind of tight. Let me just hold right there. Okay, sounds good. We'll hold right here. And then we go 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and now all of a sudden, we got $960. And we don't even have to put in the same amount to get this $1,200. We could actually do like $200 and some change. But instead, you say to yourself, oh man, I feel it. I know I can do this. And you accomplish $1,200 plus, because you're like, man, there's no way in the world I'm going to be $1,290. So you make it $1,200, $1,300 in your savings. And it doesn't matter if you think that's a lot of money or a little bit of money, because at the end of the day, you can put an extra zero and make it $12,000 or $120,000 or $1.2 million. It doesn't matter. You still have to save it. You still have to be willing to say, I'm going to say no to something else and yes to this, and be disciplined and be dedicated. And I need somebody to help me with that. And if you're a good leader, you're celebrating every single one of those wins, every single one of those milestones, every single one of those accomplishments. We're just talking about leadership generally, but also specifically. So why do we lead? We talked about that. And how do we do leadership? We do that with our culture. And where do we end up? Well, that's based on our vision. I end up at $1,300 in my bank account, $1,200 in my bank account. It's a win even if I don't overproduce, as long as I hit my goal. Let's just be completely weird. If it's only $600, because I realized after that first month that the most I can put aside with kids and family and my job, and maybe I lost my second job that I thought was going to bring me extra, is $50 a month. But I stayed committed. It's still a win if I got $600 in that bank. But whatever it is, wherever I end up at, that's my vision. But what do I have to worry about? Well, it's what I talked about. When you lost that second job that you knew was going to be that extra money producing. Those are the pitfalls. Those are the obstacles. Pitfalls and obstacles will always come. But the quote I love probably best of all from John Maxwell, he's got 1,001 quotable sayings out there, is that failure, there's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. There's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. And so many of us get lost in this thought process that I missed it. And that's so not the end of the game. So you didn't get a catch. So you didn't make the shot. So you didn't run the fastest. So you didn't get the trophy. That's not the end of the story. That is just feedback. And you know what it tells me? It tells me I need to go harder. It tells me I need to work a little bit more. It tells me I need to get in there and grind a little bit harder, a little bit better. I need to get a little bit stronger. If I go in the gym and I can't put up that 450 and my workout plan told me that I would be able to get that 450, but instead I got 400, that tells me I need to change my workout plan. I need to shift it. If I had intended on making this $1,200 a month, but I didn't make that $1,200 a month, then I need to change my job. I need to add some more education. I need to get a better network system in place so I can get a better... Something has to change. It's feedback. But I don't go around thinking I'm just the worst person in the world and I'll never make it and I'm just terrible. Because the world tells me that's what failure is. And I want to encourage you, most of all, as leaders, to understand that feedback comes. It doesnent matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how much you war game it, you plan it out, you think about it. You can have a 55-point plan full of every single potential course of action, alternative action, contingency action, emergency action, and you can still miss it because we are working with humans and we are working with other people. And the person you most thought was going to be there turns out to be the person who drops the biggest ball on the biggest scene because you didn't know that they had stage fright from when they was 3 years old, that had never surfaced a day in their life until this kind of moment. And all you got is feedback. And I would just encourage you as leaders to expect the unexpected, to expect something to come at you that you didn't see, to expect to be feeling like you're on cloud 9 and find out that you're really on cloud 5. Just expect it. That's a part of it. There's no point in being upset or frustrated or quitting and giving up and calling it a day and saying, forget about it. I'm telling you, you're going to suffer some kind of failure. You're going to get from life some kind of feedback. And it's up to you how you respond. And let me encourage you as a leader to prep your team for that. To prep your team for that time when you just knew it was going to happen and it did. To prep your team for the fact that there's going to be some kind of shift that's unexpected, because that's life. And as leaders, leading an organization, creating your culture. Hey, look, we expect XYZ to happen, but we know. And sometimes B comes before Z. And when that happens, we don't quit. We just work around it. We don't quit. We just get a little better. We don't quit. We just go a little bit harder. And so while I would gladly prefer to work from 9 to 5, sometimes I got to work till 7. I would gladly prefer to work Monday through Friday, but sometimes we come in on Saturday. And when we get it done, we take Monday off. We still get 2 days in. I'm just suggesting to you as a leader, and this is leadership training. Now, this is the kind of things that we want to take into consideration. Okay, finally, let me leave you with one last piece when it comes to leadership that I would love for you to carry forward halfway through the year, reflecting kind of on all the things that we talked about over the course of the last year plus. Leadership is self-development. Leadership is self-development. Everything that you do, let me quote John Maxwell again. He says, the law of the lid. Your organization will never go any higher than where you are. So put yourself on a scale, 0 to 10. Where do you rank? Are you a 6? Boom. As a leader, it's pretty good. Your organization will never be more than a 5. Are you a 3? Got some work to do. Your organization, never more than a 2. Because you are the lid on your organization. And so being a leader demands self-development. It demands a commitment to being all in. And so we hear quotes like, all leaders are readers. Very true. Why? Because I can get other people's experiences and learn other people's lessons so that I don't have to go through it myself personally, and I can apply them to my situation. And so I go from being a 3 to a 4, and my organization goes from being a 2 to a 3. And so I can continually self-develop. I can get mentors. I can get extra education. I can go back to school. I can watch YouTube videos and TED Talks and all kinds of things. And listen. Self-development demands self-discipline. And so when I will discipline myself, I become better. I become more professional. I become more accurate. I become more efficient. I become more reliable. And my organization just gets better as I get better. It gets better as I get better. It gets better as I get better. And you will then, in turn, be such an example to the people who you're leading, and you will create such a culture of self-development that your organization will just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and you will just keep going and going and going. I mean, I'm just suggesting to you, because I'm not perfect and I'm not nobody's professional, that leadership demands self-development. But don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of the change that comes with growth. Don't be afraid of the change that comes with taking on the mantle of being the one in charge. Don't be afraid of the rounds that are going to be shot at you. Put on your armor. Get thick and skinned, because it's coming at you no matter what. You're going to have to change, develop, and grow in order for you to be successful at leading. And I don't define successful by money. I don't define success by a number. I define successful by you moving each day to the vision that you have a picture of. And when you do that, great things are in store for you. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video today. I hope that you've gotten something out of it. I hope that you're excited about leadership and where you're going, that you're reinvigorated and rejuvenated and ready to push forward for the end of the year. Remember, you have a clear vision of what you want to accomplish this year in 2019. You've got 6 months left to do it. So don't miss out on your opportunity. Please check out all the other leadership videos that are posted below, and share it. Share it with somebody who needs it. Thanks. Y'all have a great one.